Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been in the profession for 5 or 6 years. I decided to go back 2019 or so, 10 years after I graduated college. Just wasn't really fulfilled with what I was doing work-wise. So I went back and got my master's in counseling. Took a job with a local mental health agency, worked there for a couple of years, got into the probate world. So working with the court system for individuals that are in acute crisis that need potential involuntary treatment. Kind of fell in love with that process.
Yeah.
I ended up getting my LPC,
Yeah.
and then took a new job recently with Shelby County as the community mental health liaison, which just passed resolution on Monday to make me the mental health officer for Shelby County, which is the first time the county's had that. So it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So how did you kind of get into the mental health profession, man?
Honestly, I've been volunteering with Make-A-Wish for their Trailblaze Challenge for 8 years. I kind of helped kickstart that program here in Alabama, and I was just working job to job to job to job, not really enjoying what I do, and took like a 6-month assessment of my life and said, hey, what's something that I love? I love people. And I love relationships. And I always had that knack of individuals just like coming and talking to me and just like spewing their whole world to me. I'm like, unprompted. So I kind of took an assessment and said, hey, how do I make that, take my strengths and make that into a career?
Yeah.
And I bumped into one of our former baseball players' wives, and she's like, hey, I'm going through the counseling program in Montevallo. You should look into it. And I did, and I decided to go back to school. And man, found myself, I went back for school counseling. Like I was going to go into like middle school, high school counseling.
Yeah.
Did my internship, and I was like, kiddos ain't for me. I want to deal with adults.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in the court world, kind of.
Yeah. What do you, so, I mean, and we've dealt with this a few times, man, with people and just going through it yourself through the courts,
Yeah.
And where, like, and I don't know if you can speak on this, like, where do you think the state or the counties or the municipalities can do a better job with kind of offering resources to people that with mental health or crises or whatever?
So I can speak to Shelby County because my position has been like 2 or 3 years in the making. So they're really wanting to spearhead change in the county, which I'm glad to be on the forefront of it. So my job in itself is kind of to be that liaison between law enforcement and the local mental health agencies. And so a lot of times, law enforcement will go out into a scene and they either are not going to take any action because nothing needs to be happening. They're going to make an arrest, or they're going to take the person to the hospital voluntarily. You don't have a lot of options, but with this new position, we've got a new legislation that passed in January that essentially allows anything from a misdemeanor or violation, if there's mental health issues, potentially substance use issues, that are involved in that criminal activity.
Yeah.
It gives us the ability to do that evaluation, to do that assessment, to bring it in front of the probate court judge, and the probate court judge can talk to the municipality judge and say, hey, would you be willing to suspend these charges if this person's willing to get treatment? And so we've been utilizing that new legislation probably for the last 3 or 4 months.
That's awesome.
Often.
Yeah.
And it's allowing people to get those minor infractions kind of suspended,
Yeah.
and they're going into treatment.
Yeah.
They're getting that substance use treatment. They're getting that mental health treatment.
Yeah.
And if they complete that program, judges have been really lenient about like, hey, let's just dismiss these charges. And it's a way of redirecting people to the most appropriate resource.
Yeah.
I love it because
Yeah.
we just haven't had that
No,
opportunity before.
I can speak for being a Shelby County boy, Pelham to be exact, and my lifestyle kind of getting in trouble with Shelby County. I mean, dude, everybody's scared of them. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So it's like, everybody knows like Shelby County, like you're getting the stick, man. Like you're getting it.
Right.
You're not. They ain't laying it. You're just ain't laying down. They're like you're getting what you get, and
Right.
and it's hard. I mean, and I get it. I mean the decisions we make and things like that. But it's where do you allow people to learn from their mistakes instead of like it's some of these people. I mean, I know as myself, as the decisions I made, it's my responsibility. I gotta have actions for those. So, but man, it's like, it's some of these people's first
Right.
time getting in trouble, and they're getting it to the full extent. They're like
Right.
they just lay it down on you, and it's like, golly, like, and it's you have no room for error.
Right.
So and I get it. You do think bad things, or it's just, but sometimes they're mistakes, and
Absolutely.
especially with mental health, addiction wise, man. I mean, we all know it's it's hard, man. There's
Right.
things, and sometimes we need chances. And I know for myself, Shelby County doesn't necessarily give you those chances.
Right.
And I mean, I was very how do I say this? Very fortunate with my last time of getting in trouble. Of it being in Jefferson County,
Yeah.
and Jefferson County's scary in a sense,
Right.
but
Yeah.
with my where I got in trouble, it was like, it was, I don't want to say lenient. I still had to do what I had to do, but it
Right.
was not as strict as Shelby County, and it was like, uh, I learned some lessons, some I didn't. I mean,
Right.
and I know that's where Shelby County is in a standpoint. They don't take anything.
They have a certain standard.
Yeah,
in a sense,
Absolutely.
like you said,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And you've got to have a standard, and all of us
Yeah,
understand that.
but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, you go from like Jefferson County, and like everybody's like, "Oh, I'm going through Jefferson County," and everybody's like, "Oh, okay," and then they're like, "Oh, I'm going through Shelby County," like, "Ooh, ooh, you're screwed, buddy." Like, So, but that's cool that they're kind of moving forward with chances, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it falls back onto a lot. A lot has to do with like education.
Right.
A lot has to
Absolutely.
do with training.
Yeah.
And so a part of my job is going to be working hand in hand with all the departments
Yeah.
in Shelby County to better train them on recognizing, hey, is this a mental health crisis? Is this a mental health issue?
Yeah.
Is this a substance use issue?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times priorities for law enforcement is safety. Like
Yeah.
that is top priorities, but safety for the community, individual, themselves. And so oftentimes they're limited at what they can do.
Yeah.
And they don't have the capacity to go through hours and hours and hours of training. So what we're working to do is kind of create a crisis intervention team program,
Yeah.
which will get specific people in every department 40 hours certified and trained on how to recognize mental health issues, on
Yeah.
how to connect them with resources. So that's an exciting piece on my
Yeah.
end because I'm getting to provide that education that's going to help with those interactions that may have a different outcome than just straight to jail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. And we've seen it, and we've had so many people on here. And it's kind of a breath of fresh air. Is that there is more resources to people going through straight up mental health crises, addiction, to give them the resources they need, because something has to change, man.
Right.
And I know, I mean, I was in and out of it for 12 years. And it was just, at times there were so many, and I saw just from a personal case, this is an opinion, there was so many disconnections between of them, and at the end of the day I was just trying to be sober, and it was just like getting hammered, and again, that's I accept the responsibility of what I did, but through court systems, police officers, like, hey man, like, I'm dealing with something. The best thing to do at times is not, hey, let's 6 months in jail. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, hey, if I had and we're fortunate to go through the Foundry. I don't know if you've heard of the
Yeah,
Foundry.
absolutely.
To do that, and we actually teach a class at the Foundry now, more of a type of transitioning, from a rehab space back into the
Normal community.
normal
Yeah.
community, because I know it is a shock. You come out of a bubble in rehab, and then you're boom.
Every
you're hit.
temptation in the world.
Yeah, every temptation in the world, and to help that, to provide, I don't know, a sense of mentorship, I guess
Yeah.
one would say, to make those transition. Because ultimately, look, man, if I had the choice to not do drugs, I would have chosen not to do drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and again, just going back through, we had a lot of time to think, to go back through what we've been through. At times, it's like, man, if we could divert, if it was 10% of the people, for example, You know, they could kind of be diverted from going through a state penitentiary or a federal prison or going in and out of the county for 18 months. If we could divert them to a program for 6-9 months, then like at least you're giving them a chance. You know?
And that's what we found so many times is, a high percentage of people that get arrested either have some kind of substance use issue or they have some sort of mental health issue. And sitting in jail, not receiving any services, is not doing anything for them.
Yeah.
And so it is. And so so I'm so excited about the new program that we're building because it is the first time that we are, I feel like, are addressing a loophole. Like there's a missing piece where may get arrested, but what's the follow-up after you get arrested? There's no follow-up. And now we're putting these programs in place where we're connecting people to the best chance that they have, and they're having some accountability. Because I mean, our program, if we're utilizing the new legislation that passed and we're suspending those charges, it's roughly 5 months. And you have to come to your appointments, take your medications, do all the follow-up, and we've seen success in it. And so it just now passed in January, so I'm excited to see what the next couple of years bring.
Yes. I just, again, it's because and you're part of the world, but just like I said, being a part of that world and then going through all the mess you had to go through, and then not that I'm necessarily on the other side, but you have a chance to give perspective to it, man. It's great to see that there is some response to this, because I don't know about you, but I can speak for myself and Chase, man. We get a call once a week with somebody they're gone. Whether it's through suicide, whether it's through an overdose, whether it's whatever that is. And I think of like, man, if they would have had the chance, or somebody could have diverted them 3 months earlier when they got arrested, like, would they still be here with us today and give them just give like a chance, man? Like opportunity to do it. Because I mean, look, man, like going to jail for 3 months, 6 months or anything, and then you get out and that's all you know is to chop dope, drink and whatever, and then being educated not only in what mental illness is, what addiction is, but like giving. The Foundry does a thing through HIM, Hope Inspired Ministries. They educate people, mathematics, budgeting, English,
how to use a computer,
like so skills. So you get a guy that comes out of prison and he's been there for drug charges. That's all he knows how to do. And then you put him out in the world and he has skills. But it's
You're
like
expected to do a normal job.
But then
you can't, because now you have a record on you, and everybody sees that, and that's how they know you now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's through the court systems. That's who you are. That's how they think of you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So people are people, man.
Absolutely.
And those people, we all know we all come from different backgrounds. It's how we all know it's how you were educated through your lifetime. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter, poor, rich, whatever, so we're still people that have learned different things in our lives. So therefore, and that's how where I've come to learn is once you make somebody, and that's what you make them believe about themselves, that's who they think they are. And that's how, and you know what I mean? But with help and things and actually showing people that you actually care, that's how you change people. Because and then being there for them, instead of, it's like, these are your drug charges, this is who you are, That's how they think of themselves, man. And and with mental health and through addiction, man, that's, this, like, that's how people perceive. Like, that's how I felt, man. You know what I mean? I was an alcoholic, drug addict, like, and always thought I'd be one. And like, I didn't know, like, I thought rehab and everything, that's for everybody. The famous quote is, that's for quitters, That's what I thought. I believed it. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm doing this. I'm technically good at it, It's like, it's stupid, but that's what you believe. And, and it's getting in trouble and things like that. And it's like, you have so many people that actually care about you, and they're like, this is how you're going to be looked upon, man, know? And now I know that's not how it has to be. And so it's the education, but also it's just having people there like you that show people and can help you, you know, that you don't have to believe that about yourself, and that's
Right.
not who you are.
Right.
And it's cool that I see now. I didn't know that about the Shelby County, man.
It just
now
came out.
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Now I believe a little bit more because we drive, man, and you know you're going down the road, and you have two cops, three cops. They sit there with each other, or whatever, and people are hitting their brakes and stuff because they're scared of the police. They shouldn't be scared that you're sitting there, man. They should
Right.
be like, oh, there's police around. Cool. They feel safe.
Right.
No, they don't feel safe. You brake check. You know, it shouldn't how. That's not
Right.
how it should be. Now, if you got, I get it. Like you got a copious amount of drugs and like with you and things,
Yeah.
then whatever, man.
They
You're doing
should be
something
scared.
stupid.
Right.
But I get that part. But like normal
Right.
civilians are like that. You shouldn't. The police shouldn't make you feel like that. And then especially, say you get in trouble, man. People should know they at least have a chance. You know, you have to do what you have to do for your actions, but at least people know in a sense. I mean, through addiction, you're not going to, but you should know you have a chance, man.
Right.
Is all I'm trying to say.
And I think it does. Like the media really negatively portrays law enforcement.
And I'm not talking
No,
bad.
oh,
I hope-
absolutely.
I hope you
Well,
didn't
I mean,
get-
but that's just
no,
how it is.
I love the police, man. I love the good. There's good ones, bad ones.
But I mean, you look at that, and their job is to provide some sort of safety.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think what's been missing in that is kind of that compassionate feel of things. And that's why I'm excited about this position, and I'm hoping that we duplicate it over and over again because it gives like, hey, I'm connected with law enforcement, but I'm not a law enforcement officer. Like
Right.
I am here on scene
Yeah.
to assist you in whatever you need.
Yeah.
They're here for my safety, as well.
Yeah.
But and so that in itself almost drops that guard of, hey, this is a person I can speak to.
Yeah.
So like most of the time when I go on scene, the first thing I say is like, hey, I'm not law enforcement. I'm a therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here. Just what happened to you? What can we do to help you? And so it really does. You can see like shoulders drop. You
Yeah.
can see them like kind of say, okay, like I know I'm okay right now. Nothing bad is going to happen in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but and a lot of times we're able to divert those serious crises where it doesn't lead to an arrest. But
Yeah.
now the next day we're following back up and say, hey, remember we talked last night. Let's get you back into treatment. Let's
Yeah.
get you connected with a therapist. And so
Yeah.
I think that is the follow-up that law enforcement has been missing for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
Because, and we kind of created this mental health referral and documentation form. So if law enforcement's on scene and they feel like, hey, something's off,
Yeah.
it gives us the ability to track it and do that follow-up, where in the last, they would just write their report and it'd go out to the wayside.
Yeah.
So now we're capturing the data of individuals that may need some assistance, that may need, connected to the resources, and we're able to do that follow-up where I don't think we ever had that opportunity prior.
Yeah, that's smart though, because like I get it in the cops' sense is like they show up, everything's on edge. You know what I mean? Depending
Already.
on yeah. So like it's like having that in a sense, like having you guys, you per se, is like to make a tense thing kind of less, just because nobody wants to talk to the cops.
Ever.
No, like I mean,
Especially when I'm high, buddy.
Yeah, I mean nobody.
I'm just talking to myself.
So I mean, and probably, I mean, I know you probably run into it. They don't necessarily probably believe you until you kind of start, kind of like people listen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because
It's
you're in that moment. You're like, okay, like people are like, what do I do? What do I do? And then like cops are just like, you better tell me, like, I know you got something, like, you're like, I don't, but dang, like, so it's like that, make a little less tense thing, not so much, then, it's already, you're already in trouble, so
Right.
to have somebody there to talk to kind of ease things down, I think is smart, man, like, that's really smart.
It's a resource. Like my position is a resource for law enforcement. So oftentimes where, law enforcement's on scene and there's no criminal charges, but they say, hey, we feel like this person's a danger to themselves.
Yeah.
Something's off. They're either acting psychotic or manic, and they're not safe. They're not safe to be under the same roof as their parents or whatever the case
Yeah.
is. It now gives us an opportunity to place a temporary hold on somebody take them to the hospital, get them stabilized,
Yeah.
and say, hey, do we need to a little bit more inpatient treatment, or are we good to dismiss?
Yeah.
And so I think that can still be a little bit traumatic for the individual, but it's also, hey, looking at the global picture, this is the best for the community. It's best for potential parents or roommates or whoever you're with.
Yeah.
And it just gives us another avenue to make sure people are safe.
Yeah. And it's been awesome. And I guess with a person, again, speaking personally, that's had a lot of police contact negatively, innately you don't trust anything them. And when you have another individual that's, that you can kind of, I won't say necessarily let your guard down, but like you can sit there and talk to, that you're not scared.
Right.
If I say the wrong thing right now, then I'm going to end up in Jefferson County or Shelby County or whatever thing it is, because again, we've had the privilege, and I'm sure you have, of seeing a lot of different individuals and from a lot of different backgrounds, come and go, and to I don't know, just to have the avenue of saying like, hey, are these guys really criminals? Or are they just struggle with freaking, they have a problem with substance abuse, man.
Right.
If we can fix the substance abuse, then it's he'll be able to operate fine. Or we can kind of give him the resources he needs for whatever mental illness they need, him or her, or whatever else like that. Then we can redirect them. Because if my thing was, it was just, you saw so many cuffs and sentences going to people, and it just shifted my perspective of saying like, man, if arresting these people and taking time out of their life to serve was the answer, then it would be getting better. But it was, it was getting worse, and I was just like, something has to change. And that's why I saw what you were doing. I was like, man, we need to talk to this guy, because that's what we're about. We talked to cops on here.
Yeah.
We've been
in the Walker County jail,
in the
to be the worst.
And we're able to sit there and kind of like break everything down, and coming from a quote unquote a drug addict, a guy who criminal, and then having a guy, the system on the other side, and like us trying to navigate to really, what is the best for our community, what's the best for this county, and then ultimately it spreads to the state,
Right.
And because, like I said, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've had so many drugs and alcohol or substance abuse has been detrimental in so many communities.
Absolutely.
And like, we got to do something different, man.
We do,
know?
and that's the thing. I think it is looking at it from a resource standpoint. Obviously, Alabama, or everybody probably in the country, is just lacking in resources, lacking in funding, and so we're constantly pushing. Our legislators like, hey, we need more beds, we need more of this, we need more of that, and it's always going to be a slow process when it comes to the government. As y'all know, but it is. It's how are you looking at case by case and objectively looking at it? I think a lot of times you're so emotionally attached to cases that you're not looking at it for what it is.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, it may be a first offense. Like, dude screwed up.
Yeah.
Cool. How can we correct it so he doesn't screw up again?
Yeah.
But as you know, once you get in that system, it's easy to just be consistently recycled in that system. So how do we intervene right there and say, okay, cool, he's been in 2 or 3 arrests. How do we make sure we're not having a 4th arrest?
Yeah.
So and that's where it does. It just takes some different perspectives and different ideas, and saying, how do we work as a community? Because I feel like everybody's siloed off. So like, law enforcement's by themselves, court system's by themselves, the jail's by themselves, and no one's talking together.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping with this new liaison position for the county, it gives us the ability to be able to speak to the hospital, to the jails, to law enforcement, the courts, the judges. That way everybody's like, this individual needs this help. What can we do as a team, instead of it being you versus you versus you versus you? How can we help this individual as a team to get them the appropriate resources and treatment that they need?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, again, you're saying as an individual, because again, you're like, hey, you have a methamphetamine charge. This is what we did, a methamphetamine charge, boom, away.
Right.
Opiate charge, boom, or 3rd degree felony, whatever it is. Like, well, why were you like, hey, I have a drug problem? But it's like again, coming up from my side, you're just see them stamp through, bam, okay. And it's like, hey, no. Like, what do we need to do, man?
Right.
What do we need? Like, let's stop right here. What do we need to do to push them, somewhere else?
I
Because
think-
something's not working.
Too, in a sense, and I'm speaking for myself, as an alcoholic, drug addict, I lacked responsibility. So when it came down to the time of when I got in trouble, I had no idea what to do.
Right.
It said, do this, do this, do this, do this. How do I do that?
Right.
And then I would screw up and I would get more punishment. But when I asked for help, it was, I should know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying these people don't necessarily, like, are not smart or this. I've actually met people through addiction. They're the smartest people I've ever met in my life. Once they knew in their mind that they had the capability. But what I think, this is my opinion, that the court systems and things lack is they're not understanding of that. They give so little information to people that they fail, man. They fail every time.
The legal system in itself is a difficult thing to navigate.
Yeah,
and
dude.
so it is. And so, like, what we've been doing is we try to break it down as simple as possible, and we also connect people with case managers that will help them say, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So essentially, we will have that conversation and say, hey, when you get discharged, when you get released from jail, you're expected, here's your appointment time.
Yeah.
This is step one.
Yeah.
Come to this appointment.
Yeah.
And once you get to your appointment, this is step two.
Yeah.
And we have an accountability program where we get those appropriate releases of information signed. So when they're coming to their therapy appointment, when they're coming to their psychiatrist, or when they're coming to whatever treatment they're doing, we're getting those updates every week. And once a month, we'll all come together and say, hey, Billy Joe's doing great. Sally Lou, she missed her last appointment, but we got her back on track. So it's not like you miss appointment straight back. It's, hey, if you're struggling with addiction, you're struggling with mental illness, you may also struggle with time management.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the basics.
Sure.
So from my perspective, it's like, hey, how can we be compassionate and guide these individuals instead of just like reprimanding them every single time they mess up?
Yeah.
So
and that is a big again, and it takes time, and I get it. Like I said, I'm not against like law enforcement or the thing, but I'm just I'm not saying
needed.
it. Yes,
has to be.
we
Has to be
have
there.
to
Yeah,
we
it
have
has
to
to be
have
there.
these
Right.
things, but it's like, how do we continue to how do we come to a middle ground? And is it through liaisons? Is it through having things in the court system? I don't know, because I don't think necessarily everything we put out there has not worked to this point.
Right.
But I think having somebody to objectively look at that individual,
Right.
And whatever works best for them, instead of, like I said, just punching them off.
Yeah, like a blanket.
Hey, you did this. Hey, you missed this. It's like filling a drug test when you're on probation, of like, hey, man, like you said, it's time management. Hey, they're struggle with substance abuse. Like, probably time management is something they struggle with.
Oh, absolutely.
Or waking up on time. Whatever it is, there's other things going on rather than them just popping hot on this test. And again, I'm not negating those things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's okay. I'm not saying that at all. But like, hey, let's kind of look at them as an individual, and what can we set a ball up on a tee, figuratively. All they got to do is swing, because at the end of the day, it's on us, right? Like, as the person, if you want to get better and you want to use all these resources, you can, because you can't necessarily make anybody want to do better.
It's okay.
You know what I mean?
It's on. Yeah,
They
you're
have
right.
to want to, but at the same time, is some people don't know how to want it because that's what they've done for so long.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a back and forth thing. It's like, but it's just figuring it out.
It is.
It's like, what's the right way? What's the wrong way? They've done it for so long, so it's like, oh, this is right, but is it? No. It's like.
And I mean, even in my therapeutic practice and things that I work with my individual clients, is I'm real big based in like reality therapy.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, the choice is yours. It's on you.
Yeah.
But let's explore what natural consequences will come if you don't do this or if you do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so connecting them, but you got to understand that people are going to fail.
Yeah.
And I fail freaking every day.
Every day.
But it's just not on a level where I'm going to go to jail.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? And so taking that approach and taking that mindset, say, hey, yeah, you failed a little bit, but it wasn't detrimental enough where you're going back to jail.
Yeah.
How can we course correct?
Yeah.
Get you back on track? But I think people that are going through the program stuff, they they don't understand like support.
Yeah.
It's such a foreign concept because a lot of times with addiction, you're very isolated.
Absolutely.
You know, you're isolated from friends and family that want to give you support. And so when you finally have people that are trying to be supportive, it's foreign, it's different. And so it's hard to accept that, especially for men, the perspective.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
goodness, it's so difficult for us to do that. But understanding and having that trust and being vulnerable, say, okay, yeah, I do have a problem. I do need help. And just kind of saying, hey, I'm here
Yeah.
for it.
You know, this just kind of popped up in my mind too. So like, you know, so people get in trouble with drugs, alcohol, DUIs to this. So, you know, they put you in a class A, class B, right? So, or like going to your what they call information, like they're trying to teach you something. And I remember this. I was sitting there, and you know, it's teaching you about the law and stuff, which is important too. But I remember specifically sitting there because I still had a problem. And I was like, this is teaching me nothing. Like, I'm sitting here listening to this guy talk about the DUI I just got and these are the point systems. Well, no shit, man. I need help.
Right.
You're not, this isn't counseling. This isn't, like, you're just teaching me a law that I already know. We already know that. We know what methamphetamines and everything. We're all sitting here. We've done them.
Right.
Like, come on, man. Like, this is not informational. This is, and then it's when you go to get assigned to that, these people, it's pressing back and forth questions of like, you know, you're not trying to understand me. You're trying to place me in something that you think I need that's not going to help me at all. You know what I mean? It's more information. This is why we started this, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it helps somebody or whatever, we just hope people understand. But like your crash courses that they give you going through stuff, that's not meant to help you. There's things that we already know.
Right.
There's some things I was like, oh, I didn't know that. You know, but it's also teaching somebody that doesn't care to get help because you're not giving them any help to like, oh, well, you're teaching them laws that they may not know to go help them do
Right.
something they're doing wrong. Worse. Like,
Because at the end of the day, what a lot of it's
sorry for the technical difficulties and the video got cut a little short, but
Make sure y'all show Zach some love. Great guy doing great things. Love y'all.